Surprise! So I'm going to be reading a flash fiction from a new book that I have coming out with Parrot Press. It's co-written with my husband Bill Purnell, and illustrations are by our friend Stephen Waring. And we're all talented, but his pictures are amazing, and I can't wait. So this is a flash fiction, a weird fiction called Spats by me. I admired my wife while she sat at the dressing table, applying rouge to her cheeks and ruby red to her lips. It was misleading to say she was dressed in the height of fashion, because she was so often the one leading it, with her perfectly symmetrical blonde bob and designer dresses. Our room was decorated with a lush white carpet and black Art Deco furniture, and the walls were lined with Otto Dix, Aaron Douglas, and a framed Gertrude Stein poem. We'd get stick for it, guests would read it aloud sarcastically, but it was all in good fun, and they'd realise its merits one day. It was the price one paid for being ahead of the times. My wife sat back and, eyes on her reflection, said in a bored tone, "I really don't see the point, you know." She'd started saying things like this recently, and I was getting mighty sick of it. I brushed down my dinner jacket and slipped on my spats. They were a little overboard for intimate company, but I loved to show them off. "Darling, I wish you'd try to enjoy yourself." She turned to me, eyes aflame. "Don't darling me. I don't know you. We don't know each other." I sighed and tried to look understanding. "We've been married for 25 years. We've built all this up together," I said, indicating the townhouse and everything in it. "I let you have those artists and writers over, don't I?" "I don't know," she mumbled. "Do you?" She was being silly now, just trying to ruin things. I headed to the dining room before I could lose my temper. "Jolly good job, Terence," I said to the butler as he oversaw the staff scurrying to decorate the table. The candle holders were decorated with mistletoe and evergreen and potted poinsettias, and stood proudly in the centre. Despite being unseasonably warm, it felt like a true Christmas celebration. My wife sauntered in, barely giving it a glance. "Siobhan, darling, you look wonderful." She did, in her black and white dress and matching headpiece. "Thank you. Well done, everybody." The staff beamed with pride, and I felt tremendous guilt that they should have to scramble for breadcrumbs from her. There was a knock at the door. The guests were arriving. First were the Smiths, then the Jameses and the Michelsons, then finally the jazz singer Booker Jones. He was my wife's choice, and I reluctantly indulged her. I enjoyed his company, but he was just the sort of teddy bear funny man I knew she liked. Of course, they made a beeline for each other, sipping cocktails and giggling like children. I distracted myself by discussing the Lempicker guarding the fireplace with the Michelsons. Finally, dinner was announced, and we took our seats. Cream of tomato soup was the first course. "Are you not having croutons, darling?" I asked. "I don't like them," she said, waving the maid away. "Since when?" "Since always." I refused to accept this. She was making some sort of pointless protest against me when I had given her everything. "Nonsense, you've always loved them." "Maybe I wasn't me before," she said, eyebrow raised. I sat back. She wanted a scene. She would get it. "I see. This is some dreary new woman's statement, is it? Today croutons, tomorrow bloomers." She snorted humorlessly, her cheeks reddening. "Hey," said Booker, "maybe she just doesn't feel like croutons." Typical American, I thought. It wasn't about the croutons. Our other guests looked suitably awkward. "They serve the most divine oysters at the club, don't they, George? Wonderfully buttery," said Frida Michelson. The others looked about to join in when Siobhan picked up her drink. "I've never liked croutons," she said archly. "That must have been one of the others." She sipped. The silence was like a heavy blanket. "Jacob ain't got time for an affair," said Booker, and I felt surprisingly grateful. He barely has time for new shoes. There were a few repressed giggles, and I realised that my favourite spats must have been a topic of conversation. I hated them all. "I didn't mean that," said Siobhan. "He dreams me up. He dreams all of us up. I suppose I must be slightly different every time. No doubt I'll be some subservient girl he rescued from the gutter next time." "Shut up, for God's sake," I spluttered gracelessly. "I don't mean he's asleep. He's probably sitting on a threadbare couch in holy pants." "I say, is this some sort of dinner theatre?" said George desperately. "No," said Siobhan. "We'll all start disappearing in a minute." "She's gone mad," I blurted. "George, Sam, hold her down while I run to the phone." They stayed put, eyes like saucers. The maid and the soup had vanished, and the same was happening to the crockery. "Honey, I love you, but there's no way I'm disappearing into the ether for you," said Booker, and darted to the door. "There's nothing out there," said Siobhan. "I'll take my chances," he said, and was gone. "What do we do?" shrieked Maud Smith, and the Jameses followed Booker's suit. "We wait," said Siobhan, and raised her glass in salute. Without knowing what else to do, my game having been well and truly rumbled, I raised my glass along with her. Okay, so the book, Letters from Our Dreams, will be out with Ex-Parrot Press. Fingers crossed end of the year, but there's no proper release date yet, so we'll see. Thanks very much. Bye.